Welcome back to Change Your Life. Today, we're diving into the fascinating world of Lincoln Memorial penny value coins. In this video, we explore the worth, iconic design, hidden treasures, and shocking history behind the top 4 most valuable, expensive, and ultra-rare Lincoln Memorial pennies in the United States of America. These pennies may look ordinary, but some are anything but. We're talking about coins from 2019, 1995, 1997, and 1999, all with no mint mark. Each of these is a copper-plated zinc penny, featuring Abraham Lincoln on the front and the legendary Lincoln Memorial on the reverse. What makes this story truly shocking is that even dirty, worn, heavily circulated pennies, coins most people ignore or spend without thinking, can be worth thousands, or even millions of dollars today. So before you spend that old penny, stick around, because you might be holding a fortune in your hands. Backhand index pointing right first up. Coin number 1. Stop for a second. Really stop. Hold this penny between your fingers and feel how light it is, yet how heavy its story feels. This is the 2019 Lincoln Union Shield penny, struck without a mint mark, born into circulation quietly and without ceremony. It looks ordinary, almost invisible. The kind of coin people drop into jars, forget in car seats, or leave behind at store counters. But history doesn't always announce itself loudly. Sometimes it whispers, hiding in plain sight, waiting for the right moment to be noticed. This penny is copper-plated zinc, a modern composition that many dismiss as cheap or unimportant. But that dismissal is exactly what makes it dangerous to ignore. The Lincoln portrait on the front carries over a century of American memory, a symbol of unity, struggle, and resilience. Time has already softened his features on heavily circulated examples, and that work tells a deeper story than shine ever could. This coin has lived. It has moved through real hands, real lives, and real moments in modern America. Turn it over and the Union Shield stands firm on the reverse, 13 stripes bound together beneath a single banner. It's not just a design, it's a message. Strength through unity. Survival through pressure. And when this shield is worn, scratched, and dirted by years of circulation, it becomes even more symbolic. This coin wasn't preserved in a drawer. It was tested in the real world. And survival matters more than perfection in the eyes of serious collectors. The year 2019 sits in a strange place in American coin history. It feels recent, almost too new to matter. Yet coins from this era were struck in massive numbers and spent just as quickly, often without care. That means most surviving examples are either destroyed, damaged beyond interest, or overlooked entirely. The few that show unusual wear patterns, striking quirks, or subtle mint characteristics quietly separate themselves from the rest, without anyone noticing it first. A dirty, worn 2019 penny doesn't look valuable at a glance. That's the trap. Collectors know that hidden premiums don't scream, they whisper. Sometimes it's an unexpected surface texture. Sometimes it's a strike that feels just slightly off. Sometimes it's how the copper plating aged under pressure. These details don't show up in price guides. They show up under careful eyes, patient study, and experience. This is how fortunes begin in the coin world, not overnight miracles, but quiet discoveries. A penny dismissed by millions can become a conversation piece, a collector target, or a rare example when paired with the right characteristics. History has proven again and again that modern coins are ignored until suddenly, they aren't. And when that shift happens, the people who saved instead of spent are the ones who benefit. Every scratch on this penny is a timestamp. Every worn edge marks another mile traveled through the American economy. Gas stations, grocery stores, coffee shops, school lunches. This coin didn't sit still. It moved with the country. And that movement is what gives it narrative power. Coins with stories attract attention. Attention creates demand. Demand creates value. Collectors don't chase shine alone. They chase meaning, scarcity, and survival. A heavily circulated 2019 Lincoln Union Shield penny represents something modern collectors are just beginning to appreciate: the reality of everyday America captured in metal. It's a reminder that history didn't stop in the 1900s. It's still being minted, spent, and quietly forgotten every day. So if you find one of these pennies, especially one that looks rough, tired, and ignored, don't rush to toss it aside. Don't assume new means worthless. Hold it longer. Look closer. Because value often hides behind familiarity, and the coins that change perspectives are rarely the ones that look special at first glance. This penny won't promise instant riches. But it offers something more realistic and far more powerful, a chance. A chance that what you're holding today could matter tomorrow. In the world of coins, that possibility alone is worth more than 1 cent. Sometimes the smallest coins carry the biggest lessons, quietly waiting for someone who knows how to listen. Pause for a moment and look closely at this penny. Not the shiny kind collectors show off, but the real one. The dirty one. The worn one. The kind that's been passed from hand to hand without a second thought. This is the 1995 Lincoln Memorial Penny, struck with no mint mark, born into circulation during a decade of change in America. At first glance, it feels small, forgettable, almost invisible. But coins like this don't survive decades by accident. They survive because they were needed, used, and trusted every single day. This penny is copper-plated zinc, a modern material many people underestimate. It feels lighter than older pennies, less impressive in the palm. But inside that thin copper skin is a story of endurance. This coin has lived through gas stations, corner stores, school cafeterias, and late-night purchases. Every scrape across its surface marks a moment when it mattered, even if only for a second. That kind of history cannot be recreated. It can only be survived. The face of Abraham Lincoln stares forward, calm and steady, even as the details soften with wear. In heavily circulated examples, his portrait feels more human, less perfect, more real. This is not a museum piece. This is a working coin. A coin that moved through real American lives during the mid-1990s, a time when the country was shifting, growing, and redefining itself. That context gives this penny weight far beyond its face value. Turn the coin over and the Lincoln Memorial stands quietly in the background. Columns fade with age. Lines blur. Yet the structure remains recognizable, strong, and symbolic. In worn condition, the memorial doesn't look weak. It looks experienced. Like America itself, it shows signs of use but refuses to disappear. Collectors understand this truth deeply. A coin doesn't need to be perfect to be important. Sometimes where is the proof that it mattered? The year 1995 sits in a strange place in coin history. Too new to feel ancient. Too old to feel modern. Millions were made, but most were spent hard and forgotten. Few were saved with care. That's why heavily circulated examples tell a different story. They represent the true life of the coin, not the untouched version. And in the world of modern coin collecting, that authenticity is beginning to attract serious attention. People often believe value only lives in rarity or shine. That belief causes them to miss what's right in front of them. Certain pennies from this era show unusual characteristics once you slow down and really look. Subtle details. Surface behavior. How the copper plating aged. How the strike settled into the zinc core. These aren't things you notice in a rush. They reveal themselves only to patience. This is how everyday coins quietly separate themselves from the rest. Not with loud headlines, but with quiet differences. A penny that survived heavy circulation without being destroyed carries a kind of resilience collectors respect. It becomes a conversation piece. A study piece. Sometimes even a sleeper coin that gains attention years later, when perspectives shift and demand follows curiosity. A dirty 1995 Lincoln Memorial penny feels worthless to most people. That's exactly why it's dangerous to ignore. History shows again and again that modern coins are dismissed until they suddenly aren't. The people who took time to look, to hold, to question instead of spending blindly, are the ones who benefit when interest turns into demand. This penny doesn't promise instant riches. Coins rarely do. What it offers instead is potential rooted in history, survival, and timing. It represents a real chapter of American daily life, captured in metal and carried forward quietly. That kind of story has value far beyond 1 cent, especially to collectors who understand that the market is shaped by emotion as much as numbers. So if you come across a 1995 Lincoln Memorial penny that looks tired, worn, and overlooked, don't rush to dismiss it. Hold it a second longer. Feel the weight of where it's been. Because in the world of coins, the pieces that change fortunes are often the ones everyone else ignored. And sometimes, the smallest coin carries the loudest future. Welcome back. Take a breath. Don't rush past this moment. Imagine reaching into your pocket, pulling out a penny you've touched 1,000 times before, and never once thinking it could matter. The 1997 Lincoln Memorial penny was born in silence, struck with no mint mark, released into a busy America that was moving fast toward the future. The internet was growing. Cities were changing. People were spending without looking. And this small copper-plated zinc coin slipped quietly into circulation, unnoticed, uncelebrated, carrying no promise at first glance. Yet history often hides its power in the smallest places, and this penny was no exception. Look closely at its surface. This is not a clean coin. It's worn, darkened, scarred by time. The edges are soft from decades of handling. The shine is gone, replaced by a dull, honest patina that only years of circulation can create. This penny has been dropped on sidewalks, traded at gas stations, tossed into tip jars, forgotten in drawers. Every mark on it is proof that it lived. And in the world of collectors, survival matters. A heavily circulated coin tells a deeper story than a perfect one, because it proves presence. It proves movement. It proves reality. On one side, Abraham Lincoln stares forward with calm endurance, a face America has trusted for generations. On the reverse, the Lincoln Memorial stands firm, its pillars symbolizing unity, endurance, and memory. In 1997, these designs were more than art. They were reassurance. America was stable. Money felt permanent. Nobody imagined that decades later, people would search their spare change hoping for something overlooked. Yet today, that very normal design is what makes this penny dangerous to ignore. Because rarity doesn't always scream. Sometimes it whispers. This coin was struck on a copper-plated zinc planchet, lighter than the old solid copper pennies, cheaper to produce, easier to dismiss. But within that thin copper skin lies a moment in U.S. monetary history when transitions were happening quietly. Errors, variations, striking pressures, and unnoticed anomalies slipped through because speed mattered more than perfection. A worn 1997 penny can hide secrets that only the trained eye can see. Weight differences. Surface textures. Die fatigue. Misalignment so subtle it escaped millions of hands. Most people see dirt. Collectors see evidence. Heavy circulation doesn't kill value, it filters coins. Millions were made, but only a fraction survived decades of use without being destroyed, melted, or lost forever. The ones that remain, especially those with unusual characteristics, sit in a strange space between common and rare. That's where money changes lives. That's where stories turn dangerous. Because when demand meets survival, prices stop making sense. Imagine a collector holding this penny under a light, rotating it slowly, watching how shadows move across Lincoln's face, how the memorial steps fade into metal. That collector isn't looking for shine. They're looking for truth. A real coin. A working coin. A survivor. In today's market, circulated coins with the right story attract attention because they feel authentic. They feel American. They feel earned. And authenticity has a price people are willing to fight over. The shocking part is not that this penny exists. The shock is how many people spend it without thinking. How many fortunes are brushed aside at convenience stores, laundromats, parking meters. History doesn't announce itself when it passes through your hands. It trusts you to notice. And most don't. That's why collectors stay quiet. That's why they hunt slowly. Because the less the public knows, the easier it is to find treasures hiding in plain sight. There are stories of coins pulled from rolls, from jars, from inherited boxes, dismissed as worthless until one detail changed everything. A single variation. A single test. A single expert opinion. Suddenly, a penny becomes a conversation piece. Then a bidding war. Then something nobody expected. This is how overnight stories are born, not from luck, but from attention. From patience. From refusing to believe that something old and dirty has nothing left to give. If you own a 1997 Lincoln Memorial penny like this, worn and tired and forgotten, the worst mistake you can make is assuming its value is obvious. Low offers come fast when people sense ignorance. High value reveals itself slowly, only to those who wait. Coins like this don't reward speed. They reward restraint. They reward respect for history and the discipline to let the right moment come. So before you toss that penny aside, before you trade it for nothing, stop and think. This coin has already survived more than most people notice. It has lived through decades of change, carried the weight of daily American life, and arrived in your hands for a reason. Whether it becomes a lesson or a turning point depends on one choice. Look closer. Because sometimes, the smallest coin carries the heaviest future. Stop for a second. Take that penny out of your pocket. The dirty one. The scratched one. The one you almost tossed aside without thinking. This is the 1999 Lincoln Memorial penny, struck with no mint mark, born at the edge of a new millennium. It came into circulation when America was holding its breath, waiting for the future. And while the world talked about technology and change, the small coin quietly entered everyday life, ready to be used, worn, and forgotten. This penny is copper-plated zinc, a modern composition many people dismiss as cheap. It feels lighter than older cents, less important, less serious. But that thin copper skin protected it through years of friction, pressure, and movement. Every scrape across its surface tells you it worked for its place in history. This coin wasn't saved in albums or drawers. It earned its survival the hard way, moving through real American hands. Abraham Lincoln's face on this penny looks softer now, the sharp edges worn down by time. In heavily circulated condition, his expression feels more human, more lived in. This is not a flawless portrait frozen in time. This is a face that has watched the country step into the year 2000, pass through uncertainty, growth, and change. Coins like this absorb the era they live in, and 1999 was an emotional turning point for America. Turn the coin over and the Lincoln Memorial still stands, even if the fine details have faded. The columns blur, the steps lose definition, but the structure remains. That's the power of this design. Even when worn, it refuses to disappear. In dirty condition, the memorial doesn't look weak. It looks experienced. Like something that has stood through storms and stayed upright anyway. The year 1999 matters more than people realize. It represents the final breath of one century and the first step toward another. Millions of pennies were struck, yes, but almost all of them were spent without mercy. Few survived decades of circulation without being damaged beyond recognition. A heavily circulated example that still holds its shape becomes a quiet survivor of a historic moment. Most people believe value only comes from shine or rarity. That belief causes them to miss coins like this. Real collectors know that modern coins can hide unexpected stories. The way the copper plating aged. The way the zinc core reacted over time. The way wear settled evenly instead of destroying the design. These details don't scream for attention. They wait for someone patient enough to notice. A dirty 1999 penny feels invisible in today's fast world. That invisibility is exactly what makes it dangerous to ignore. History has shown again and again that modern coins are overlooked until collectors suddenly realize what they represent. By the time attention shifts, the opportunity to find meaningful examples in circulation is already gone. This coin doesn't promise instant riches, no matter how badly people want that dream. What it offers instead is potential rooted in timing, survival, and context. Coins connected to major transitions in history often gain emotional weight over time. And emotional weight is what fuels collector demand long after production numbers stop mattering. Heavily circulated coins carry something mint-state coins never will. Proof of life. Proof of use. Proof that they mattered to ordinary people. A 1999 Lincoln Memorial penny that survived decades of spending becomes a small metal witness to American daily life at the edge of a new era. So before you spend that worn 1999 penny without thinking, stop. Look at it again. Hold it longer than 1 second. Because in the world of coin collecting, the pieces that change fortunes are rarely the ones that look special at first glance. Sometimes, the coin everyone ignores is the one history remembers later.